What if I told you the Foundation Season 3 finale wasn't just an ending, but a hidden beginning? What if every death, every betrayal, every sacrifice we witnessed wasn't random, but part of a master plan Seldon designed centuries ago? Sounds crazy, right? But then again, this is Foundation. We all saw the chaos unfold in those final scenes. Brother Constance's last stand, Demerzel's impossible choices, and the crumbling of Empire itself. But here's the question nobody is asking. Was the collapse inevitable or was it engineered? Because if you pause that final shot, just for a second, you'll notice something nobody is talking about. Something so small, so subtle, yet powerful enough to change everything we thought we knew about the ending. And I'll get to that. But first, let's talk about the scene that left fans completely broken. The confrontation between Demerzel and Cleon XV. The so-called Eternal Dynasty suddenly ripped apart. The emotion in Demerzel's face wasn't just sorrow, it was recognition. Like she knew this moment had to happen. Almost as if she had been waiting for it. But here's the forbidden question: waiting for it or planning it? Let that sink in for a second. Because if Demerzel is no longer a prisoner of the Keonic chain of clones, then who exactly is she serving? Hari, herself? Or something far darker hidden beneath the surface of Trantor? And speaking of Hari, where was he really in those final moments? Everyone assumes the second Foundation only appeared to guide the crisis. But look closer. Hari's words weren't guidance, they were a test. What if I told you the real plan wasn't to save the galaxy from collapse, but to accelerate it? Think about it. Seldon's plan requires chaos, bloodshed, destruction, so that a stronger order can rise. But what happens if the galaxy doesn't collapse fast enough? Does Hari simply push it along? Now here's where things get disturbing. That final shot of Gal Dornick, standing in silence staring into the abyss, wasn't grief. It wasn't defeat. It was realization. She finally saw the cost of the plan. And if I'm right, she's about to become the single most dangerous person in the galaxy. But before I reveal why, let me just say this. If you're even half as obsessed with Foundation's hidden layers as I am, then you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Because trust me, what's coming in Season 4 will rewrite everything you thought you knew about Seldon, Demerzel, and the fate of Empire itself. Alright, let's dig deeper. Because here's a theory nobody dares to voice out loud. Isaac Asimov himself planted this twist decades ago. The entire show might be adapting his words differently, but the core idea hasn't changed. Psychohistory was never about predicting peace. It was about controlling collapse. So when you look at that eerie silence in the final frame, no words, no music, just the void, you realize the war hasn't ended. It's only just begun. And here's the truly chilling part. The pieces aren't falling apart by accident. They're falling into place. Which brings us to the one question that's been haunting me since the credits rolled. What if the fall of Empire was never the point? What if Hari Seldon's true plan is still hidden? Because if you map out every major crisis across the seasons, you'll notice a repeating pattern, almost like a secret rhythm. A rhythm that ends in tragedy, yes, but also in rebirth. So what exactly is being reborn here? The Foundation, the second Foundation, or something even greater, something we were never meant to see. And that, my friends, is where the finale takes its darkest turn. Because if you thought the death of Empire was the end, you're already playing into Hari's hands. But wait, what if Hari isn't even the one pulling the strings anymore? What if Demerzel has finally broken free and psychohistory itself is no longer predictable? That, right there, is the seed of the next crisis. And it changes everything. So here's the ultimate forbidden question: was Season 3's ending truly an ending, or the opening move of a far deadlier game? And trust me, the answer will keep you up at night. So let's pick up right where we left off. If Demerzel has truly broken free, then every single prediction Hari Seldon made is worthless. But wait, what does that mean for psychohistory itself? Can history even be predicted anymore, or has the galaxy officially gone off script? Think about it. The entire premise of Foundation is that Hari's math can predict humanity's future. But if Demerzel is operating independently, making choices no equation could foresee, then maybe the real crisis isn't the fall of Empire. Maybe the real crisis is the fall of psychohistory itself. And if that's true, then tell me, what happens when an unstoppable algorithm finally meets its first error? Does it reset? Or does it crash everything with it? Now, here's where things get uncomfortable. Because the signs were there from the very beginning of Season 3. Remember that eerie scene where Demerzel hesitated before executing her orders? Fans brushed it off as emotion. But what if it wasn't emotion at all? What if it was calculation? Almost like she was rewriting the plan in real time. And if Demerzel can outsmart Hari's psychohistory, then ask yourself this: who's really the master here, and who's the pawn? But let's make this fun for a second. Quick poll: if you had to put money on one of them winning this shadow war, who do you trust more? Hari, the dead genius manipulating from beyond the grave, or Demerzel, the living machine who's finally slipped her chains? Drop your vote in the comments. I'm dying to see how split we'll be on this. Because honestly, I keep flip-flopping myself. Some days I'm all in on Hari's master plan, and other days I swear Demerzel is about to burn the entire galaxy just to prove she can. And if you think I'm exaggerating, look back at the finale's emotional core, Gal Dornick's expression. It wasn't relief. It wasn't victory. It was fear. Fear of what she just realized, and fear of what she's about to become. Now let me throw a hypothetical your way. What if Gal, not Hari, is the true heir of psychohistory? Imagine that. Gal using the Prime Radiant not as a tool of prediction, but as a weapon. Not to prevent collapse, but to decide who survives it. Yeah, I know. Sounds terrifying. But tell me you wouldn't binge? Watch an entire season built on that premise. And here's the kicker. Remember when Hari said, "We don't predict individuals, we predict societies"? Well, guess what? The finale proved him wrong. Because everything hinged on the individual choices of Demerzel, of Gale, of Brother Constant. Psychohistory didn't see them coming. But we did. Which means, maybe the audience is part of the plan. I mean, let's be real. Half of us were predicting Cleon's downfall seasons ago. We knew the clones couldn't last forever. So if we saw it, doesn't that mean psychohistory isn't just math? Doesn't it mean it's also storytelling? And if the story is what shapes the plan, then Hari might not be the writer we thought he was. Maybe he's just another character trapped in the same script. Now here's me being brutally honest. I almost laughed when I realized this. Because after 3 seasons of Hari telling us everything was inevitable, the ending felt like one big cosmic joke. Like the writers themselves winked at us and said, "You thought you knew the plan. Think again." But here's where I'll roast myself a little. I still fell for it. I still sat there at 3 a.m., eyes glued to the screen, whispering, What just happened?" Yeah, psychohistory might be broken, but my sleep schedule definitely was too. Still, jokes aside, let's not ignore the emotional weight. Because the finale wasn't just about collapse, it was about sacrifice. Every character who mattered paid a price. Constant, Hober, even Empire itself. And the scary part, I don't think it was enough. Because if Season 3 was about tearing down the old, then Season 4 has to be about building the new. But what exactly is being built? A stronger foundation? A tyrannical second foundation? Or a galaxy ruled by Demerzel herself? Here's another hypothetical for you. What if Season 4 opens with Demerzel not hiding in the shadows, but openly declaring herself the ruler of Trantor? Can you even imagine the shockwaves that would send across every world we've seen so far? And before you say, nah, they'd never do that. Remember how we all thought Cleon would last at least 5 seasons? Look how that turned out. So don't rule it out just yet. But let me circle back to something I teased earlier. That tiny detail in the final shot that changes everything. If you look closely at Gal's hand, yes, her hand, you'll notice something glowing. It wasn't just light. It wasn't just set design. It was deliberate. And if I'm right, that glow might be the single biggest clue to the next phase of the Seldon plan. But we'll get to that in a moment. Because before we go there, I need to ask you something. Do you actually believe Hari Seldon is in control anymore? Or do you think Demerzel has already stolen the narrative? Tell me in the comments. I want to see how divided we are as a community. Because trust me, your answer says more about the show than you think. And here's where things get even scarier. If psychohistory depends on collective belief, then maybe it's not just the characters deciding the future. Maybe it's us, the audience, too. Yeah, I know. That sounds insane. But ask yourself, who really holds the power? The mathematician who built the equation? The robot who broke the chain? Or the millions watching, waiting, theorizing, giving the story its shape? That's the paradox the finale leaves us with. And it's a paradox we're not supposed to solve, at least, not yet. But here's the secret. We're closer to the truth than the show wants us to be, because that glow in Gal's hand, that's not just symbolism, that's the key. And once you realize what it really means, you'll never see the ending the same way again. So, let's finally talk about it. That glow in Gal's hand, it wasn't just a random trick of the light. No, this is foundation. Nothing is accidental here. That glow was the Prime Radiant itself, But not just as a tool, not just as a machine. For the first time in the entire series, it looked alive, which means one terrifying possibility: the Radiant has chosen her. Think about that. For seasons, we've been told the Radiant is a neutral instrument, something Harry alone could use to map the plan. But what if that was a lie? What if the Radiant has always been waiting for someone else? And if that someone is Gal Dornick, then Hari Seldon isn't the architect anymore. He's just the ghost in her machine. Now here's where it gets insane. Did you notice how Demerzel never once looked at Gal directly in that final sequence? Almost like she already knew. Almost like she realized the one variable she couldn't control wasn't Hari, wasn't Cleon, it was Gal. And if Demerzel, the all-knowing machine, is afraid of Gal, then we should be too. But wait, what does this mean for the future of psychohistory? Does the plan survive if Gal is steering it? Or does it become something else entirely? A personal vision instead of a mathematical inevitability. Here's the nightmare scenario. What if psychohistory stops being a prediction and becomes a weapon of faith? Imagine billions of people believing not in probability, but in Gal herself. That's not a foundation. That's a religion. And tell me, what's scarier, a galaxy ruled by clone tyrants, or a galaxy ruled by a prophetess armed with math and destiny? Now let's have some fun with this. Quick thought experiment. If the Radiant chose you instead of Guile, would you use it to save humanity, or to finally settle a few personal grudges? Be honest. Drop your alternate psychohistory plans in the comments. I guarantee some of you would be way more chaotic than Hari ever dreamed. And hey, I'll admit it. If it were me, first thing I'd do, predict which streaming service will actually survive in the next 100 years. Netflix, Disney, Claw, or some random app we haven't even heard of yet. Yeah, my version of psychohistory would be petty. But here's the part I can't stop thinking about. Maybe this was the point all along. Maybe the glow in Gal's hand wasn't about power. It was about choice. A reminder that for all the math, all the prophecy, all the manipulation, the future is still made by people. By one choice at a time. And if that's true, then the ending of Season 3 wasn't just a twist. It was a warning. Because the next collapse, the next war, the next betrayal, it's not in Harry's numbers anymore. It's in Gal's hands. Now let me leave you with this final paradox. If Gal is the new prophet of psychohistory, then every moment we've seen until now, the wars, the sacrifices, the deaths, was just the prologue. Which means the real story hasn't even started yet. And that's exactly why Season 4 might be the most dangerous chapter yet. So here's my challenge to you. Do you trust Gal Dornick with the galaxy's future? Or do you think she'll fall just like everyone before her? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading every single theory, and I already know some of you are going to blow my mind with takes crazier than Hari's equations. Oh, and before you go, if you've made it this far and haven't subscribed yet, come on. You've clearly got the patience for 30 minutes of psychohistory and heartbreak. Hit that button, join our Foundation family, and let's survive this collapse together. Because trust me, when Season 4 drops, you're going to want to be here when we decode the next glow. Until then, remember, this history doesn't repeat itself. It collapses.